Stop eating fiber if you're trying to heal your gut. I know this might sound controversial because a lot of people believe that fiber is important for optimal gut health, to feed the good bacteria, to have regular bowel movements and all of those things. But no, the truth is humans don't need fiber. I've heard a lot of people raising concerns about how to get more fiber into their diet, especially if they're suffering from IBS and have watched my IBS video and want to eat only meat for a certain period of time to fix their gut, but then wonder where is the fiber coming from, because there is no fiber in meat. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the top reasons why you should not be concerned about not eating fiber, why humans don't need fiber, and what the science says about the benefits, or lack thereof, of consuming a high fiber diet. So welcome back to the channel. Let's dive right in and make sure you check out the resources in the description, which link to additional information that goes into much more details and has links to all the scientific evidence. So check that out if you're interested. Here is the thing about fiber. Humans don't need fiber to maintain optimal gut health. A lot of people think that fiber is important, from vegetables, from fruits, and from other sources, from whole grains maybe, to maintain an optimal gut microbiome, to feed the good bacteria in your gut. The problem with fiber is what it does is it increases stool volume, so you produce more waste at the end of the day, and it slows down digestion in many cases. And those are two things that you absolutely want to avoid if you're trying to heal your gut. You want to have as little stool in your gut as possible and to make it go out as quickly as possible without obviously having diarrhea. But let's talk about the importance of fiber for gut health, or lack thereof. Here is the thing. It is true that consuming a high fiber diet can lead to an increase in certain bacteria in your stool, like bifidobacterium. But studies have clearly shown that eating fiber or consuming fiber does not improve the diversity of microbial species in the gut, meaning, or also known as alpha diversity. So consuming fiber does not improve alpha diversity. So you don't have a better variety of bacteria in your gut, which is one of the key indicators of gut health, right? The better your alpha diversity, the healthier your gut. So at least the assumption based on everything we know about gut health. Conversely, studies have also shown that consuming only meat or following a meat-based diet does not reduce alpha diversity. So in other words, you don't need fiber and you're not missing out if you don't consume any fiber. What fiber, however, does is, in terms of gut health and how your gut is working, it increases the frequency of anal gas evacuations. In other words, you fart more. And some people think that farting more and being and looking like you're about to give birth because you're so bloated is a sign of good gut health. I completely disagree. Your gut is not supposed to feel painful or it should not make you feel uncomfortable. If it does, there is something wrong, and farting like a trumpet all the time is certainly not a sign of gut health, of good gut health. Number 2, fiber is necessary for regular bowel movements, is what I hear a lot. And not eating fiber means you get constipated. Now here's the thing. I poop every morning, so does my wife, and we don't consume a lot of fiber, if any at all. Right now, actually, we are on a fairly strict carnivore-based diet, and we go to the bathroom every single day without any issues. Our stool volume has obviously decreased since we cut out everything else but meat and eggs, but that's a good thing because that means you're just producing less waste. But just to have regular bowel movements does not require, or for having regular bowel movements, you don't need fiber in your diet. Now here's the thing though. If you change from a predominantly plant-based diet or a standard American diet or any diet for that matter, and suddenly cut out everything and only eat meat, yes, you can get constipated, much like with every other sudden dietary change. Your stomach gets used to certain things, and if you dramatically change things overnight, then you can get constipation, you might even experience diarrhea or anything in between. That's completely normal. So if you cannot handle sudden changes, like, removing all the plant foods, if you, like I suggest in my IBS video, then, do it gradually, do it over the course of a couple of days so your bowels get used to that change. The other thing you can do if you want to, make the change fairly quickly because you're so fed up with that pain and constipation and bloating and pressure and all the things that come with, gut issues like so many people have, unfortunately, you just supplement with magnesium or creatine or both. Both supplements are actually great for you to reduce stress, to improve, athletic performance, and to improve brain function and many, many other things. But if you overdo those supplements, the only side effect really is that you get loose stools, or in the worst case, if you really consume way too much, diarrhea. So if you, want to switch, if you want to cut out all plants and all fibers and you feel like you might be getting constipated, just, increase your magnesium intake, your creatine intake, and that'll keep things moving. The one thing that you should not mistake for constipation is, fewer bowel movements. If you're going to the bathroom now 5 times a day because your gut is so messed up and suddenly you only have to go once or maybe once every other day, that's probably just because you're producing less waste. There is less stuff to get out because most of the protein and the fat from the meat your body can absorb. The third misconception is that fiber is critical for supporting cardiovascular health and for blood pressure control. And again, not true. There have been plenty of studies, including one involving a clinical trial, actually, an 8-year clinical trial involving 49,000 women, also known as the Women's Health Initiative Dietary Modification Trial. And those studies have clearly shown that increasing a dietary fiber intake or even consuming fiber has no impact on most of the cardiovascular factors or cancer factors or anything in between. In fact, one of the guys that I really like, Alan Watson, he's a patient advocate and cardiovascular nutrition analyst and the author of the 21 Days to a Healthy Heart and Serial Killer. He said, and he put it very distinctively, that increasing fiber in the diet by consuming more whole grains or fruits and vegetables had no beneficial effect on colon cancer, nor did it prevent heart disease or cancer or induce weight loss. So all of the benefits that we associate with increased fiber intake aren't actually true, or at least could not be shown in clinical trials involving 49,000 women. And the bottom line here really is that fiber doesn't offer any meaningful health benefits, especially if you're on a well-designed diet, maybe a carnivore diet or an animal-based diet that's at least centered around animal-based foods. There is no benefit of consuming fiber. The one thing that fiber does, I give it to that, is it slows down digestion, as I said already, and it can blunt any potential blood sugar spike. So that's why it's usually better to consume an apple from a blood sugar response perspective than drinking apple juice, right? The apple has fiber, which slows down the absorption of the sugar from the fruit, and so your blood sugar response is different, is better, you could argue. If you're on a carnivore diet, that doesn't really matter because, there is no carbohydrates and sugar in meat. And the little that might be in liver or in some other organs, is negligible. You don't need to blunt any blood sugar response if you're on a well-designed diet, if you're, on an animal-based diet or a carnivore diet. Number 4 misconception is that fiber can help with weight loss and treat obesity. And again, the Women's Health Initiative, that large study I've mentioned before, did not support that assumption. It's simply not true. And, I don't consume a whole lot of fiber. I have no issues, maintaining my body weight. I'm actually gaining muscle tissue, but I'm not gaining any fat. I'm not getting any bigger or unhealthier. And my blood pressure is also perfectly fine. So again, fiber doesn't really help. The only way where I can see fiber have a positive impact is if you're in a standard American diet that includes a lot of processed foods, especially processed carbohydrates, and you consume those with fiber, you might get a slightly better blood sugar response, but you should not be consuming those processed foods in the first place. And the overall impact on your health is insignificant, I would argue. And so it's much better to remove processed foods than worrying about consuming more fiber. But if you've reached this point and you're still convinced that you might need some sort of fiber in your diet for whatever reason, and you wonder, are there any carnivore or animal-based sources of fiber? Well, there are actually some, like aged cheeses, or in dairy in particular, or dairy in general, but in particular aged cheeses. They have, or as part of that aging process, as part of the fermentation, there is bacteria in the cheese that can produce oligosaccharides, and they're prebiotic. They're not like plant-based fibers. They're like prebiotics, and that can have a very similar effect in your body as other types of plant-based fibers. So if you're concerned about fiber and you want to increase your fiber intake while still maintaining an animal-based or even a carnivore diet or a variation of the carnivore diet, aged cheeses might be your way to go. Raw milk cheeses, again, especially when they are aged, another good source of those oligosaccharides. Pasteurization typically, destroys all of that stuff. So don't consume pasteurized dairy or pasteurized cheeses because you're probably not going to find many of those oligosaccharides. There are certain cheeses made with probiotic fiber, so that might be an option as well. And if you're currently pregnant or your partner is, and you're absolutely convinced that you need fiber, there is also human milk oligosaccharides in breast milk. So if you're hot on fiber and you don't want to break your carnivore-based diet or whatever, just don't tell anyone that you're stealing your baby's milk, but there might be an option as well. Beyond that, if fiber, if you don't need necessarily fiber, but there are other things that can help support gut health, especially if you're trying to heal your gut, if there's something off, like you have IBS or Crohn's disease or something else. Fermented dairy products like raw milk kefir, and I consume a good amount of raw milk kefir every day. I make it myself. You just buy the kefir grains, you buy the raw milk, and it usually takes 8 hours or so for the kefir to be done, and then I drink this typically with my first meal. Bone broth is another great example. Bovine colostrum, I have a separate video on the benefits of bovine colostrum, also great for gut health. And then certain beef intestines and digestive organs. You can also consume, we have pancreas, for example, in our beef organ supplement that can also help with digestive health and support your healing process. But the most important part is obviously to cut out all the things that, were causing those gut issues in the first place. With that, we're going to wrap it up. The bottom line really is humans don't need fiber. Some people can handle fiber in various amounts. I can do some fiber from certain types of plants like avocados, etc. Those are fine with me. With most other things, I just get bloated and feel uncomfortable. And it doesn't really do anything in terms of improving my gut health, so I just remove it. I poop fine every single morning, as I've told you before. And so don't worry about needing fiber in your diet. The only thing that you need in your diet is high-quality animal-based products. Meat, organs, fat, bones or bone marrow. Everything else is optional. See what you can handle, but don't worry about where you might be getting your fiber from. With that, we're going to wrap it up. In the comments, let me know why you disagree with what I had to say about fiber. I really love to hear it.